Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Ion Radio, and this is the Backseat Admiral, and I'm John. If you guys are in chat, let me know if you can hear me just fine, and then I'm just going to keep talking. So today is near the end of the year, so it's December 29th, 2022, and we're going to be discussing the Season 5 finale, Episode 10, which Ken and I decided to call Darkclone Rising. So, looks like we have Brian here for the first time live. Welcome. Glad you're able to join us. So, just going to wait a little bit longer to make sure the mic and everything's working. My internet, I'm using one of those, awesome, thank you very much, Brian. I'm using one of those, USB Wi-Fi adapter cards, and it's a couple years old, and I think it's near the end of its life. But I'm planning on moving my desktop computer down to the basement, and then I can just hardwire it right in. So hopefully that will be cleared up, because it's just so frustrating to, I restart my computer earlier in the day just to get it ready. And then out of nowhere, it's like, hey, so I need another restart right as you're about to do Backseat, because OBS just keeps dropping and disconnecting. I'm like, oh, come on. Internet. I honestly think it's the internet here. So hopefully just that landline in is going to help it. So welcome, Maxwell. Glad you're able to join us as well. So let's talk about this battle. Season 5, the entire season, we decided to do submitted fleets from our Patreon members, from our Discord members, from YouTube, and things like that. And we did that. And for the final battle, we like doing big battles. And we were thinking maybe we just see if we could ask someone to do a submitted battle. And it's hard to wade through 400 points fleets to find out a good matchup. Let's just use some leftover fleets that didn't make it into the Season 5 and just pair them together. And then have a big sector fleet battle with 2 admirals per side. But we wanted admirals and commanders that did not necessarily affect each other, so they were very much so limited to themselves. We were planning this before it was officially rules formed, how commanders' ability work, and we just didn't want to mess with any of that stuff. So what we ended up doing is we selected these 4 fleets, and the downside of that is I was right there. We had a lot of Imperial lists, but I was scraping the bottom to get bottom of the barrel to get the last Rebel fleets in here. And the Rebels had officers and stuff that were the same between both fleets. So Ken and I decided we were just going to totally hand wave that. Because normally when you show up to a sector fleet team battle, you can't have any unique cards between them. So then we just made them into the clone. So we went after the Thrawn trilogy, Darkclone Rising style, that they just keep adding letters to their name. So instead of Lando, it's Lando and Lando. So that's why the droids were here to fight them, because they had to defeat the clones. So, Stefan, welcome. Thank you. We appreciate you being a big fan of ours. So let's just dive into the list. So we have 4 people to thank and 4 lists to talk about. And what's interesting is because this was a team battle, you didn't necessarily see each fleet individually shine. You saw parts of each fleet shine. So I'm going to talk about each fleet in the vacuum of if it was just played by itself instead of a team game. So that's how I'll discuss it. Let's see. That is wrong screen. Thank you very much. Restart. Is that it? Nope. There we go. Okay. Us by Manic Maple. The Radis list is brought to us by Mika P, or Mike. He just changed the letters around. The Trench list is brought to us by Sam S. And the TF1726 list is brought to us by Camillus of Rome. So big thank you to all of those players that submitted our list. So I'm going to now go ahead and talk about it. Hey, Ian, welcome aboard. I'm glad you enjoyed that reference. And cool, we've got a nice group here in New Jersey. Lots of us watch your shows. Thank you. Usually can work around to fix them. And most of the time when I'm able to like do... So let's talk about the Medine list. So we have the MC-80 Star Cruiser. And the difference between the Star Cruisers are how many red dice versus how many blue dice you have. It is. Hopefully, it looks like it's caught up. Again, we're going to be landlined the next time I do this. So I'll just keep trying to talk fast before it decides that the little tiny USB piece decides to die. So what Medine is doing is it makes your navs kind of supercharged. So when a friendly ship resolves a nav command, if it spent a dial, it may increase one additional yaw value by 1. If it spent a nav token, it may either change its speed or increase its yaw. So tokens become options and dials become superpowered. So if you look at the Liberty here, it doesn't turn well, and it like does this weird turn that you're usually out of place at speed 3. So this allows you to actually steer. Especially when you have it with a dial, then you can do 2 joint changes. So that works out pretty well. Then you have Ray A. Miss Antilles. He's the first clone. And when you do a command, then you can get a token, which is cool. Caitlin and Sholin, so you can reroll all your red dice when they go sour. Engine Tech is on here. So with Ray A. Antilles, you can get a token to then power Medine, and you can then like rotate commands. That's about what I did. And then you can power Engine Tech to move it speed 4 or stay slow and then move forward. Link Turbo Laser Towers, Spinal Armaments to add an additional red dice. And then this OB1 here isn't OB1. This is a placeholder because Ken had to scan a card, and then I got the copy that wasn't finished yet. So this is actually the Montgomery Exodus fleet title. And this is on both of them, and that helps with repairs. I ended up not using that title of this game, but it's there. One of the thoughts that I had for that, though, is do you necessarily need it here? Because for the most time, you're doing navigate, and then you can switch between one command. And if you do that, will it be enough to get enough out of it? It probably would. I think I was mainly con-firing just to get more damage downrange because there was a lot of ships in front of me that I had to plow through. So the second one is pretty much the same ship, except without any of the special stuff. So it still works really well. Lots of front range. With the spinal armament, you're front ISD2, so that's pretty fantastic. Now we'll get to this assault frigate. And this assault frigate ended up being my favorite ship in this game. Who would have thought? It has Lando Calrissian. It has dual turbo laser turrets. And that's it. It's super cheap. Super not imposing. Most of the time I only got like one shot out of it. So I would use dual turbo laser towers. And then Medine just allowed me to like completely zigzag. And it ended up doing like the finishing shot on almost every important ship that Ken had. So, yeah. Then you have the GR-75 medium transport, Ahsoka Tano, and parts resupply. Yeah, so parts resupply is how you would get tokens. So you would have then 2 turns of tokens on both your ships. So never mind what I was saying about the fleet command, or the title. You could then power it, and then I would have to check real fast because I haven't used this in quite a while. Library, titles. You can exhaust this on another copy of a card, and then you gain 2 engineering. So then with that, you could do a normal engineering amount with a token. So that works out pretty well. So then you can do that on like turns 4 and 5 to stay alive while still rotating between con-fire and navigate as needed. So you use Ray A. Antilles to feed you self tokens. So yeah, That's a lot of token generation. Then Ahsoka can just turn tokens into whatever she wants. So, yeah, it's good. It's one of those things like how I use them. And like the GR75 was with the fighter portion of the other fleet. So you got that going. So, no, but that... and a lot of times, if you're not doing intech, you go gunnery teams because then you can just shoot better. But with Medine, you're like not going to be doing confires, so you need to focus then on triggering Medine. So you're doing navs. Okay, let's jump to the next fleet, and the next fleet is a Radis drop fleet with one of the Providences, and this is not the way that I've ever done Radis drop before, so it was kind of cool to do it because I've never actually done... Usually I'm dropping Profundity in and then dropping another ship with Radis instead of having Radis spit out Profundity's ship and then drop the Radis ship out because that's just a lot of range. Usually my little ship that I put in there is like a hammerhead that I'm ramming with, or an overload pulse, which really didn't do anything for me, but let's take it out. So this is Mika's P's list. So it's a MC-75 Ordnance Cruiser with Admiral Radis, Waylake's Bliss, because it would like to stay alive, Ordnance Experts, Electronic Countermeasures, External Racks, and Ordnance Pods, and then Obi-Wan showed up again, but that's the Profundity title. Second ship is a Providence class carrier. This has Lando on it in Ray A Antilles, Ordnance Experts, and Boarding Troopers. It also has engine tech. So both these fleets have engine techs because it's a really good card. Providence carrier loves it because it's really slow and really can't maneuver. Like if you look over here, it's got a total of 2 clicks total for the entire ship and only can go speed 2. And it's like even the bad click, because that's like it's usually better to front click than it is to rear click, and this ship rear clicks only. So with this in auxiliary shield team, I don't know if I mentioned that, but when you can drop it in, you can gain tons of repair if you need it. The next ship we're going to look at, it has Hondo, so you can trigger boarding troopers, and then it's just like in your face, rolling dice, and hopefully it hits, and you got Ordnance Experts to redo it. So then you have the CR90B with Hondo. Like I said, it's going to chuck tokens so that you can do board engine techs and overload pulse. So the idea is Radis jumps to that small ship to give you range to drop it out even farther. So then you can drop this ship out. And before this ship attacks, you kind of like pin another ship with it. You hit it with the CR90's overload pulse. Like you try to double arc it. Like ideally you want to use it against a big ship, right? And Ken offered me only little ships in range where my ship was going to probably explode. So it was a really poor options for me. So you overload pulse them, and then you use your 2 squadron value with the Providence and boarding troopers to completely eliminate 2 tokens off. Cool. That works really good. Last ship is a GR-75 medium transport with Comsnet, and then Shara Bay and Taiko Chelchu, just to keep squadrons off of you. And this is to pass tokens, so you can either do engine tech or engineering or whatever you need to with this ship, which got lit up by the entire CIS, and I totally misplayed when I used Lando. I wasn't thinking that the Patriot's Fist could hit me, and then I also forgot that he was going to be throwing black dice at me with a confire, and it just went downhill super fast. It was just like, boom, so many damages. And if I had Lando, I would have chucked him and had him reroll all the doubles, and that did not work because I used it earlier to avoid another APT from a different ship. CIS was very like, this is what we're doing, and that's one of the reasons why I had to play a avoiding game with that. So those are the 2 fleets. It was fun to have Medine and be able to use a ship that I didn't usually use Medine with the Assault Frigate, because I've played Medine quite a bit with Liberties, so I'm pretty comfortable about that. I didn't need to turn, oddly enough, so Medine didn't do anything for them, but the other ships used it. Then this Radis, this is another thing that I haven't done in the past, which was that Russian doll. I forgot what it's called. A nesting doll. I haven't nested doll out of an MC75. Usually the MC75 is what I'm dropping down, and then profunditing out. But I kind of like how this all is. So I'm gonna take a break. We're gonna go to the comments to see if anyone has any comments about the Rebel fleet, and then we're gonna jump back and we're going to check out the CIS fleet before we get into how we actually played this game. Okay, let's see where we left off. Oh, my internet lagged out. Hopefully it's back, because I've been talking a while without seeing that. I saw a pop-up over here, and it looks like I'm running smoothly, so hopefully I'm running smoothly right now. What are the engineering tokens from the GR70 account for that? Yes. And I came to the same conclusion when I came across that ship. Dual turbo lasers, Justin says, has grown on me. Handy when you need to maximize points over LTT, particularly for lots of small ships where the 2-point savings per ship add up fast. It does. I think it's more useful in this case as a one-off, but part of me also would really like LTTs because of the flak ability. And that fleet has no... it has no fighter screen. So fighters are just going to come in at you and try to mess you up as fast as possible. You do have 2 Liberties, though, like that can like try to sprint across the board to take out the carriers fast, and like it's like 2 ISDs followed up by a assault frigate. So that could be a lot of firepower, and you might not need it. So I don't know. I thought the upgrade worked fine for me this game, but I still don't like dual turbo laser towers totally. I like them more than that heavy turbo laser tower. I still think that doesn't necessarily see the light of day, but the added ability to, like, if this was like a fighter slugfest, it's especially on the hold on, let me jump over to the ship again. Here it is. So you got blue dice range, so you can throw blue dice range out and then add 2 dice range into a fighter. That's a lot. While the MC80s won't be able to flak until fighters are pretty much attacking them. So the rest of your fleet has very little fighter protection unless they're already on top of you. The assault frigate gives you a little bit of leeway to launch dice farther. I like the A in that instance to have linked turbo laser towers, because you have 2 blue dice, you can shoot obstructed through your ships into other ships, and then LTT into them as well, which is just pretty awesome. Let's see what else. And then also if you're running Swarm, let's say like hard cell Swarm, I like LTT again because lots of flak can kill fighters very quickly, and the LTT, while you're shooting out front, it doesn't, like the 2 points between 5 ships is 10 points, so it adds up, but I still think LTT. It was a shame those Liberties weren't able to turn much. I've been able to go ahead with ISDs and then move behind them with the sheer amount of clicks I got. Yeah, I could totally see that. They could dance. I'll talk about it more in my strategy of why I did what I did. I just needed a wall of fire to move straight forward. And when you only have to go, what is that? That's like... technically I need like 2.5 feet of movement. Like it was so over prepared to do that movement, and I needed to time it with the rest of my fleet to hit things and kill them to pass Ken. I didn't need to do any turning. I did a little bit of jig jogging with Maydeen, side to side, to get into better position to ram things, because I was like usually 1 damage away from killing things. But yeah, Maydeen dances, but that wasn't the objective that we ended up playing. Okay, so let's kick over to the next fleet. This is a CIS fleet. It's Trench. So this one was brought to us by Sam S. And I think on its own, this would be a hard fleet to play against. It has a hard cell transport as the flagship with Admiral Trench and munitions resupply, so you can chuck out concentrate fire tokens to everyone. And then Trench will make those concentrate fire tokens usable. Also, you will have 5 ships, so you can just one and done, clear it off all at once without ever having to worry about refreshing it until all the ships have used it, which is really nice when you think about it. The next ship is a Recusant class light destroyer with Shumai, and I've talked about it before. I don't like cards that you have to predict when you need to use them because I'm terrible. Usually, if I go 2 and 4, it's 3 and 5 that I'm in combat. But this is good with this card because you get to reroll all your attack, and if you can time it at long range with Patriot Fist, there's a lot of dice that you can be rerolling. It has reserved hangar deck because you have a lot of fighters that are just there to die and get in the way, so this brings one back. Assault proton torpedoes, swivel mount batteries, and the Patriot Fist. So with this, ideally, right, you're going to be at long range, you're going to swivel, let's say the front. So you're throwing 4 red dice, swivel mounting into black dice, and then you're using a token with Trench to trigger his ability to add in another black dice and then reroll a dice before you even need to use Shumai, and then you have Patriot Fist to add 2 more blue dice. So you're getting up to 8 dice, 2 of them black, 2 of them blue, 4 of them red, a reroll, and then possibly a reroll of up to 3 more. It's a lot of rerolls. So you're probably going to be able to trigger that assault proton torpedo, which is ideal. Like, that's a lot of damage. And then you have 2 more hard cells. They're battle. They have reserved hangar decks and quad battery turrets. So they can, and you can make like this wall of hard cells with like Patriot Fists coming around the side. And it's going to be plus a blue dice, plus the Trench shenanigans, so you can add in another dice, blue dice, and then you can reroll one of the missed red dice, so both of those can put out a lot of damage. Also has reserved hangar deck, so you can bring back the vultures again. Hard cell, again, munitions resupply, so again, you can pass out to all 5 of your ships tokens, so you get 2 rounds of Trench, so cool. Trench sets 4 dials, so 2 of them for sure are Confire, and then maybe the other 2 are Confire, and you're just taking it as a token later on in the game, or you're using it as a nav later on in the game to try to escape. Like, it all functions very well together for the at least 2 turns that you're going to be in fighting. Then you have 4 Vulture Droids to try to keep off, but the 4 really are 7 because of the reserve hangar deck. It's a pretty good list, and you saw how Ken had it. He had a partial wall against like a lot of bigger ships, and they withstood a lot of firepower from me when I was attacking them. And his fighters tied up my 2 fighters, which for way too long during the game. So that's that. I wouldn't really necessarily change anything about it. I do like the quad battery turrets on these, because if you were going faster than it trying to get away from the hard cells or away from Patriot's Fist, you get extra red dice. Cool. It also works for all the dice out like the side too. So if you could like double arc at long range and it not be obstructed, then you're gaining 2 dice. So the potential to do more just dice. I like blue dice anyway, so like that's right up my alley. So that's that list. Got a fighter screen just to tie things up, and then you just make a wall with your hard cells and move them forward. The next list is a TF 1726, brought to us by Camillus of Rome. And TF is on the Providence Dreadnought. It has Wat Tambor to try to stay alive. It has Ordnance Experts, B-2 Rocket Troopers, because TF has to pass out raid somehow, Assault Proton Torpedoes, XI-7, and Swivel Mount Batteries. So the Swivel Mount can turn any of your sides into very deadly sides, and then be able to throw the black dice at long range even without the B2, and then if you have raid on them with TF, that's even more black dice that you can throw out. So if you're able to get to your other 2 ships to get raid on a ship, at long range, this can be 3 red dice, plus a swivel mount dice, plus 2 TF dice, plus a confire, so that's 4 black dice. Reroll 2 of them with Ordnance Experts, Pachow, TF with an Assault Proton Torpedo. So, yikes. And then XI-7 says you can't redirect any of that damage anywhere anyway, so LOL. I like this. A lot of times I've played TF with Recusense because they're really good at launching dice, but this is an interesting build for a Providence Dreadnought with Swivel Mount. I don't know if I've tried it on. I would like to play this fleet, all these fleets, just because like that's just an interesting combo. Then the Munificence Com frigates are kept lean and mean. They got B-2 rocket troopers and Link turbo laser towers because that's what always are on them. These are here mainly to like move forward for your Providence because that's your main like hard hitter, and just to put out damage and the raid tokens with the B2s. So you kind of want this in front of your Providence, and your Providence is just cruising with this swivel mount, chucking black dice forward. And then because we have 3 options of B2s, more than likely you'll at least have some sort of raid on them when each of your ships activate. Or you have a pile of it. Like if they move into you, they're dead. It's just so much raid. And the black dice for these ships are just bonus damage because there's no way to re-roll it or anything like that. So you just take the damage for what it is. Also, this would mess up a fighter really bad if a fighter came near you because red dice range, add in the B2, add in the linked, add in a confire, and you can get like 5 dice against a ship with re-rolls like crazy. So there's hopefully I reconnect. Okay, says I've reconnected. New Year's resolution, this machine is going to be hardwired in. So I'm going to wait for a second and catch back up and then go from there. And it was these Gazantes have Ordnance Experts because if you can get them into medium range, then you can use TF with them too, and then you can re-roll those dice. And then you have MS1 ion cannons for blue crits if you can get a thing, and you can exhaust the defender's card. So if you move in first, like if you move into this death trap, they raid you. And then these Gazantes TF you, and they just exhaust any of your cards that are useful. They can exhaust your spats, they can exhaust your like ECMs and things like that. And then anything that has an exhaust cost, well, guess what? You can't use it. And then if you double arc, you're really multiplying the amount of damage these could put out. I'm actually disappointed. Well, I knew how much damage these could put off. That's why I avoided allowing Ken to be able to do that to me. But like, it's a lot. Like 3 black dice. If you could double raid someone, you got a blue. Turns out whatever he wants. 2 TF dice. And then a confire. So that's 3 black dice plus a blue dice. And then another blue dice afterwards from the side shot. Yikes. That hurts. Hopefully this is still going. Let's just... Okay. Cool. And I think then that's it for the fleet. So I'm going to go to comments. If you guys have any comments or thoughts on these fleets, go ahead and post them up. I like TF. TF, though, is like one of those trap type cards. It's kind of like Sato. It's the CIS's Sato. Both of these fleets are actually kind of like the CIS Sato. They both don't necessarily work well enough to be super, super competitive, because you have so many different little parts that have to be working together. Like, it's like Sato, like you need a fighter wing, but you don't have enough fighter points to be able to pull him off with how many upgrades you need on the ships that could launch dice. Like, it becomes expensive. Same thing with TF. There's only one way to apply raid reliably, and that's the B2s, and they're 7 points each. So, like, to do that, you need a ship that has the upgrade card, and then you equip it, and then you also want rerolls, and you also want a dice. So, like, it becomes super expensive super fast. And that's also why, like, this Gazanti doesn't have that, because Gazantis being B2 carrying machines would be absolutely bonkers broken. So, if there were just a normal Gazanti, you could, and that would be crazy. Okay, so that's my TF rant. Let's check out comments. Maxwell says Ken is very good with Trench. He is. Ken is a sucker for wanting to make admirals that aren't good, and he practices with them, so he's then good with them. It's like Trench. Actually, it's mainly the T's. So Trench, he likes Tarkin, Imperial. Tarkin, Gar is fine. So you'll see Ken using those guys a lot, and probably better than a lot of people, just because they're not necessarily good commanders. Yes, harden bulkhead to the Providences so I can ram it into things. Exactly. It looks like Ken has joined us in the chat, and Deoch Ode is as well. So yeah, I like hardened bulkheads on Providences so I can just ram them into things. And like, also, if you like look at how my Providence died, not only did I get annihilated by Ken's dice and I ran out of tokens really, really fast and used Lando too soon, I also took a ton of ram damage. If I had on that Providence hardened bulkheads, a lot of things would be better, because I went down, I got rammed by a hard cell, and then I rammed the hard cell, and then I think I got rammed by another hard cell. So that's 3 out of my 9 health right there. I would like those back, please. Yeah. Separatists have made Gazantis crazy scary if used right. Yeah, part of me... So a lot of times, this is a side rant completely, but part of me thinks, like, most of the times you see Rebel transports, you usually see 2 of them. Both these fleets don't, so they break the rules on that. But then, like, Imperialist, usually you have 2 Gazantis. And Guard doesn't have anything that's like that, but usually you see, like, 2 Peltas. And the CAS, I think, can get away with only running 1, because they really only need that little slight activation bump from 1 ship. And, like, they're expensive ships. And then when you start upgrading them, they're even more expensive. So, like, if you're going to super equip it with a bunch of stuff, why not just bring a hard cell? So the Gazanti is pretty good at this very, very almost run it naked just as an activation. And it does decent. Or you, like, that's one of the reasons why I kind of like the way that these are equipped. Like, MS-1 ion cannons are super niche, but they cost 2 points, so the ship's only 29, and then you have Ordnance Experts because you're running the TF list, so you put that on there, and you're up to, like, 33 points. That's not bad to run 2, but you could also then just fill a list with this at the end, like that last little bit, when you don't have enough for a hard sell. That's just what I'm saying, so... Okay, let's check out how this game played out. I'll talk first on how Sector Fleet works. So you have both your fleets on your side, and then you secretly select a Grand Admiral fleet from both sides. So this doesn't matter if you're playing 2 players per side or 3 players per side or theoretically 4 players per side. You select a Grand Admiral fleet, and then that fleet is what you determine who goes first or second by their bids. So theoretically, you could super game the system if you knew you wanted to do something. Is it the past if I'm talking about it right now? You'll get to this eventually, so you'll probably get a laugh out of that. Welcome, Bardicus. So I lost my train of thought. So then you could super game the system, having one of the fleets have a really, really high bid, and then you get to determine what that is. And then the objective cards are played off of whoever was the Grand Admiral. So I don't remember who Ken selected as his Grand Admiral. It might have been Trench, and I believe I selected. Let me see if he populated it in here. Oh no. I don't know if we wrote that down. I know we talked about it, and then I just totally forgot about it because it was months ago now. So I selected Maydeen because it had Blockade Run, mainly because I really wanted to play Blockade Run. And Maydeen had a 3-point bid, and Radis had a 10-point bid. And Ken, so regardless of which fleet, I was able to get a choice. So Blockade Run, I was like, please pick Blockade Run. I really like Blockade Run. That's where I thought it was. Give me a sec. Let me see. Yeah, you have it listed as Fleet Commander. So let me jump down to the... Yeah, so apparently the Rebels have a Fleet Commander, and Ken has the CIS as Grand Admiral. So that's how he decided to label them. But yeah, so that's how you determine it. It's one of those things that we had to stop and look up and figure out how to do it, mainly because we haven't played a sector fleet with 2 fleets like this that wasn't a campaign in a long time. So let's dive into how everything was set up and things like that. So this is the setup. And I have the CR90 inside Profundity on the MC 75, and then I have the Providence inside hyperspace with Radis. I dropped down first the 2 transports and fighters just to buy some time, and Ken was dropping down his Gazantes over here and some fighters as well. Then I dropped down this ship over here, and this is totally just a hopefully you bite and take it because I know I can get her away really fast this way. So he started putting down some of his fleet here, and then I just stacked my big ships out. And my hope here is if you see anything that gets placed over here has to go through this asteroid field or out and then around, and then hopefully I'm in the end zone already. And I get to place all the obstacles, so I got a station to heal on, and basically I can just move straight across the table here and have clean shots. Ken formed his wall of hard cells right here, and that's going to hurt to get through because that's just a lot of dice coming at you on little tiny things that survive usually 1 or 2 rounds too long. And then he did this really interesting deployment with his 2 big ships. And if you look at this, you're like, they're pointed completely the wrong direction, Ken. But he actually did this intentionally. And I'm going to say what I think Ken intentionally did with this. He can make comments in the comments if he disagrees. But because in Blockade Run, it only matters that you stop ships from crossing this line on turn 6, you don't necessarily need to get to them fast. Because I need to come all the way across here. And this Providence is going to take 1, 2, 3 turns to be on that line, which is about the amount of time that it would take for me to cross here. So then hopefully he can like ram stop me right dead in my tracks before I can cross the line. Or if I've raced across it, then we can fight over here. Because once I get past a ship in Armada, there's usually no turning around unless you're like Medine. And I'm Medine, so I could do circles around you, but Ken needed to stop me. And then for this, Patriot's Fist, it can just slowly roll around. Again, like if I sprinted across and did my speed 4 with these guys, they would end up right here. And then like I could just immediately take fire from this side shot of Patriot Fist. And Patriot Fist can just like slowly go around here and then just lob dice deep across the board because it has a red range. And so if you are let's see, 3 feet across, so you're like what, 1.5 feet here, and then you can red range almost across the entire board. So you could keep me in this area and then just circle Patriot Fist around. That's what I think. Can put 2 of his ships, thankfully his 2 slow ships, over here, so then this ship is going to be just peace, I'm out, and then just everything was going to try to funnel through this and end up over here. And that's pretty much how the game went, honestly. So here, everything kind of moves forward. You can see these ships barely move because he's hoping to time me right at the line. Patriot Fist is moving into position to kind of like do a spin around. This ship, like I said, is just going to slow roll and be right at that line at like turn 3, turn 4 to do majority of the fighting. This ship, I mean, look at this. It just turns, and now I can go straight and just kind of like zigzag behind my ships with this and leave these guys far, far behind. And I don't even have to like worry about activation range because Ken has to move to get into range of me, so I'm not like going to take free shots if I don't activate this first. So it's pretty safe just as an activation to hold. No profunditing into the Providence just yet. And then this is the turn that I decided I had to drop in. And the reason I had to drop in is if I moved one more turn, this ship's hitting me, this ship's hitting me, this ship's hitting me, this ship's hitting me, and maybe that ship's hitting me, and then Ken gets first activation. I want none of that. So at the end of that, I'm like, I have to drop this next turn. So as you can see, the assault frigate has now successfully like flown almost backwards to get in line to sweep the leg over here. Fighters are here fighting. Ken's line's moving up. Patriot's Fist is now in position that after we move, it's going to be able to launch attacks and stuff. So at the beginning of this next turn is when the Raddus drops takes place, which is one of those things that we wanted to I have to do it now. And as you can see, it's sitting right there. So I Raddus drop in here. Hammerheads die because the Liberties are actually really good at trying to kill them, and then I like rammed them and stuff like that. But like, this is such a kill box of badness of like this Recusant lobbing. The Recusant wrecked me. Like, we track our tokens, so in one turn I've discarded all those tokens, and I have 4 health on me still. Ugh. And it's just gonna explode. But in so doing, it's allowing the rebels to escape because this isn't going to be able to be stopped by that. Like, this is going to totally die to multiple liberties and into 75. Like, there's enough firepower coming behind it that's just going to push all these through. And then I realized that this is going to just sit here and ram against himself to sit here the entire time shooting me. So that's why I turned my MC 75 into it. I'm like, hey, if I kill it, I kill it. Well, otherwise I need to scare Ken away. If he just wants to sit here, it's a brawler. This is not a brawler, it's a skirmisher. So you take your brawlers and you smash them into the skirmishers to kill them. And that's what we did. So things start disappearing. I've kind of now pinned Ken here. Like, this is what I was talking about. Like, Ken's here to stop me from crossing this finish line. And if he got another activation into this Liberty, this Liberty was really, really hurting. He has a double arc, and then this wouldn't be able to move past him even at speed 3, even with Medine, I don't think. Like, maybe I could kick it out to the side, but then I'm going off the board. So like this is the perfect position, like what we're talking about, pin me right at that line that I can't cross it, but there's too much firepower. And oddly enough, like it's the assault frigate that ended up finishing it off. Like he didn't expect that because he started on this side of the combat and then added himself here, lobbing dice. And that's just a double photo. And then here we go. This is like right before the end of the game. All these are across. This one's kind of across. My transports are trying to get away. They're going to get obliterated because I have like no tokens. And then the assault frigate's sitting in this perfect position. I don't know if we have an upper shot. No. But there's like this perfect shot that just pins this needle right in between all the obstacles to hit Patriot Fist with red dice from the MC-75, and that's the reason why I got the thing down to like just enough health for the to finish it off. So the assault frigate finished off the Providence. It finished off the Recusant. It did all the damage to the Munificence. Like it's definitely the MVP. I think Ken and I both agreed that it was definitely the MVP. And then at the end of the next turn, like everything's across safely into the end zone. And then these ships, as much as they want to turn and try to get into it, like they would have to have gone through this debris field to get into combat. And then like you're taking so much damage and things would be ramming into each other, falling on each other. That's why I just deployed them there. I love playing, let's see, hold on. I have 2 slides of score. So Providence died, Gazantes died, this survived. The transport for the Medine list died. Then, no, I said go to that side. The hard sell, Recusant, hard sell, and all 4 vultures died. This hard sell only survived because it was on the other side. And then the Radis fleet sacrifice. Like this is like movie time cinematic. Radis like comes in to sacrifice himself to try to save the day. Like he jumps onto the Corvette, he jumps in the Providence to help try to clear the skies, and then Shara, like yeah, I don't know, it felt pretty good. So difference at the end, Ken killed 247, I killed 546. Victory tokens, every ship that Ken killed or kept out of it, he gets a token, and I only get tokens for getting across. So difference of 338. So at the bigger score zone, it's then a 3-8. So that is it. Just to have your ships get sliced up by the smaller ships and then hit them hard with the big ships. Well, you did do that. Okay, well, it's connected back again. Again, hard lining the computer in because the USB internet, I think, is on its last leg. So I was answering Ken's questions or Ken's comments, so I'm going to go back there just to make sure we don't miss anything. Yes, the idea was to have your ships get sliced up by the smaller ships and then hit them hard with the big ships. And you did that. Ken did that. His stupid hard cells, like always, survived like 1 activation more than they should have, or 1 turn longer. I know the one, I left it after ramming it on 1 health, so it activated, got to shoot me, and then it got to ram me. Ugh, that's always annoying. Ken, just out of curiosity, how are you or your parents from Poland? Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to skip over that. Brian says, idea for season 6, take a random season like 2 or 3 and run the same list but play the opposite. So John, if was your list, Ken would use it, same objectives, and see how different perspectives would go. We've thought about that. Ken, I think, has a list of episodes that he think were close that would be fun, but he wants to play the same one again. But it really comes down to amount of time that it takes to record and to edit episodes that usually keeps us from doing that. Like if we had unlimited time, that would totally be something we would want to do. But we don't. We have very limited time, and time becomes more and more limited as we get older and our families get older and responsibilities. So as much as I would like to do that, we're probably not going to be able to do that. There's a couple of games that are really early on, before we even switched to seasons. This was before 1.5 that Ken and I both have talked about, were really close games, and 1.5 would have 100% changed the games. It's like the same thing with our first Rebellion in the Rim. 100% the game would have been different under 1.5 rules. And how everything in that, like Ken's ships would have been able to evade, my fighters wouldn't have done as much damage. Like, it would have 100% changed it, and that's something we've both been curious on doing it. This was a beautiful Redis drop of the Providence. Yep, there's awesome to hear. It was yes, Ken agrees with me that the MVP was the assault frigate. Yeah, we both had a lot of fun. I love playing big games on Blockade Run because it just makes the game into a slugfest right in the middle, and then someone's going to win, and then either someone's going to escape or they're not going to escape. So it's a good story regardless of how it all plays out. Yeah, so that's about it. I'm probably going to call it here soon. This was the end of our year. Ken and I take off the last 2 weeks of December for the holiday time period, just so that we can be with family, and then you can be with family, and like YouTube during that time period. Like, we've done this for a couple of years. Our views just, because people are busy with their family, and as much as I think it would be funny if you put us on in like the background of your family dinner, don't do that. Yeah, like views go down, so we just don't bother to release stuff. So I wanted to get this out, so this was finishing off the season, and we could talk about these lists, because one of the reasons why these lists made it into this is I liked all the lists, and I didn't have a place for them necessarily in the season itself, so I figured they would be a good list to be seen in the big battle. So we're going to be releasing an announcement type channel update video, because we realized that our current one that sits up on our homepage of YouTube, like when you go with an actual internet to it and it starts playing and talks about our channel, we haven't updated that in almost since when 2020 2021-ish. So we figured we need to do that. You guys should watch it, because again, channel update, channel announcement, that type of stuff of what we're going to be doing moving forward. And then we're already in the works of season 6. Season 6 is pretty much recorded-ish. Like, we're about halfway through, so I'm already starting to edit that. We have more exciting stuff with Madness. We're getting the Madness fleets together, and we're going to start playing those matches. So then we have Madness. It just so happens to be in March for our tournament. So we're both really excited about that. All the lists look pretty fun to play. And yeah, we just have a lot of stuff coming out in the new year. We want to try to get some other things back on the channel. Like, I don't know if we've released a Battletech video or a Legion video in almost a year now. And that was just, we've been so busy with both of our lives. Like, this year has gone by like that. It was just the other day I had a newborn baby, and now he's ready to run. He's 10 months going on 11 months now. It's almost been a year, which is insane. Crazy. So one day he'll look back at this and be like, oh, Daddy's talking about me. So let's see. If John can teach his children to win worlds for a victory fleet, Patreon support will double. Yes, eventually. He watches Star Trek with me right now. When on the days that I take care of him, I have Star Trek on in the background. He really, really loves the intro sequence for Star Trek: The Next Generation. I think he just likes the orchestra style music. He usually pays attention extra, but he'll stop what he's doing and stare up at the TV when the Enterprise is zooming by with the names, which is really cute. So yes, Ken's saying the announcement video is coming out on the 1st. It's a Sunday. and it will replace our current things planned and ideas for 2023. And the next time we do Backseat, we won't be here. We'll be in my basement. So hopefully the internet won't be bugging out on me because of the stupid little USB chip. So, like, oddly enough, like, I could probably just buy another one, but why do that? I'll just move everything in the house to another room. So, yep. Let's see. Don't know you guys had Legion episodes. I have to watch the Legion. Yeah, so we actually have a couple Legion episodes. The problem with getting Legion on the table is that we were up to date with rules like 2 years ago, and then we were in the process of doing painting, and then life got crazy busy. I moved, Ken moved, and then painting pretty much has still in the process of painting. Like, I have a stupid AAT tank that's been sitting on my paint desk for almost a year solid now, which is insane. I was looking at my painted up today, and I have a lot of stuff on my paint desk, and I'm like, man, I started gluing this at the old place before we moved, so that's over a year ago now. I'm like, oh man, I gotta get my I don't want to say life straight. I mean, I'm just busy, but yeah, like it's just so much time to edit. I actually have internet decides to start behaving. Okay, Ken says it's solar corona. Apparently I'm rolling all accuracies and it's just canceling out all my internet. Again, hardlined for 2023. So I'm going to wrap it up here. I would like to thank all of our Patreons for supporting us over this last year. I'd like to thank all of our Discord members for all the good conversations that we have with them over the year. I'm going to combine New Year's and Thanksgiving together. I'm thankful that Ken wants to do this with me. I'm thankful for both of our wives for allowing us to do this. I'm thankful for our kids for support. Johnny not screaming his head off the entire time while we're recording, and his son for supporting him as well. I'd like to thank everyone that subscribed to us. We have like over 3,000 subscribers now, which is insane. Never thought we were going to get that high. And all the people that enjoy the videos and watch them and talk about them and share them with their friends. And then everyone that comes on Backseat and talks with me. I really enjoy talking to you guys about it. So